Hey everybody, it's Ron Howard. It's your old pal from Extreme Sequences. It's been a while since I've come to you with a video or tutorial. Super weird things happening in the life, but we're coming upon a very interesting time in our lives. 20 years later, after crazy events have happened in our world. And I've been thinking about a song I've been wanting to do for a long time that reflects how I feel about things. Every now and then I do get somewhat selfish and do a sequence for myself. And this is going to be one of those such cases. So I hope you like it. But I wanted to break down some things that I think about when I'm sequencing and some of the steps I take. Let's face it, we don't all have time to sequence. Some of us don't want to sequence this. Some of us just don't have the desire or time. And I totally get it. So I'm always happy to be here to help provide that service. But I do like to share tips and tricks and share kind of what I'm thinking about. It's such an art to telling a story with lights. And I take it very serious. And it's very easy to use the tools in xLights to just make things bounce to the rhythm. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Your audience will love it no matter what. The bar is low. But for those that are really trying to take sequencing to the next level and that really want to tell true stories with the music, there are some basic principles that hopefully I can shed some light on, and pun intended. The first concept really is to don't over listen to the music. Get a feel for the type of tone it produces, the feeling that it gives you. Don't worry about how it makes anyone else feel. Only think about how this song makes you feel. Then look at the lyrics. Do the lyrics coincide with the music? Is there a story, or is it just a hip-hop rave song? In which case, you could just stop this tutorial now. But if there's a message in it, think about things you want to say in the message. And I've done this in other tutorials where I'll create a lyric track up here and I'll just type in specific lyrics or punches for where I want something to happen to impact that part of the song, that someone might see a sunrise with lyrics saying sunrise, and there's an instant connection. And this is how the brain works. We see, we hear, we identify to words and to visuals, these cues, and it sort of ties it in. And I think about these things a lot. The other things are to take advantage of some of the tools in xLights to create the basic rhythms of songs. This is a 4/4 beat, so that's pretty easy for xLights to handle. And then the other thing is look at drum parts, different things that you want to happen in this song to correlate with what it's communicating. Power punches, snare hits, whatever it might be. You don't have to be a musician, but it's easier if you are to really recognize some of the articulations of various instruments. And then if you have a piano, again, which is a percussive instrument, you may want to separate that to create these melodic rhythms. The same goes true for a violin section in here. I'll share with you in a second that I worked on a bit. But I'll turn these off for now. We'll just play the intro. This is Goo Goo Dolls with Better Days. It's kind of a mellow song, but very impactful. And I treat every intro as a way to set the tone. And then when I go into verses and choruses, I like for there to be changes because the song is changing. And I think that's important. I've only worked on the pixel poles and some mega tree here, not much else. I typically try to find an anchor with models. Sometimes it's outlines, sometimes it's the mega tree, sometimes it's the matrix. This time it's the pixel poles. And I do this with purpose because I want to challenge myself to use some other component of the show to be the anchor to set the tone. And then I'll work from that with colors and movement and style to complete the rest. So we're at 5 minutes now with me dribbling on about concepts for this sequence that I have much longer to finish, a much longer time to work on to finish. So let's get started. I'm just going to play this intro part, and you're going to see the pixel poles here are representing piano. I am not a pianist. The notes are not going to be exact if they were on a piano. I do the best I can with this, but I think it comes across. And so I'll start this from the beginning. and we'll play just that section. And repeat.
And you ask me what I want this year, and I try to make this kind and clear, just a chance that maybe we'll
Really basic effects on the tree, which I've got a lot of work to do on.
'Cause I don't need boxes wrapped in strings and designer love and empty things, just a chance that maybe we'll find better days.
Okay, fair enough. So as you can see, I introduced a little bit of an example of illustrating what the music is saying. When it talks about a box, I don't need boxes wrapped in strings. As simple as using an effect to create the box, which is ripple, and using this lovely little effect called tendril to find some settings to wrap around the box. Overstated, probably, could be a little more subtle, but I think it illustrates that, you know, we're supporting the lyrics. It's really a simple thing to do. And then the rest with the hearts coming in, and we sort of have that flood in. I'll probably tighten these things up a little bit. Another nice little hint for you is sometimes the off effect is underutilized. If you're just trying to get a smooth transition from multiple effects, putting an off effect at the top with fade in and out with the transitions can do wonderful things. I've done that a couple times through this. Let's get through this next section, because we get through the piano part and then we go into this.
These words and sing out loud, 'cause everyone is forgiven now, 'cause tonight's the night the world begins again. I need
So we get to our first example of a chorus in this section, and really it's subtle. The pixel poles are simply dropping down, and I have these fans set up so that there's a slight hesitation at the top. And I always call this sort of it's sort of like friction or resistance. And I think there's a lot of messaging in this song. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It can mean just, you know, looking for better days. Where are the better days? Special people that give us the ability to have better days. It could be pretty much whatever you want, or it could just be a Christmas song. There's a lot of debate as to what these lyrics really mean. So I think it's very personal, and you can make it your own. The rest of this really is subtlety with sunrise and trying to create a motif here. And then we get into these little drops here where I am using warp, and everything just set to normal. You could play around with the warp, and you could change this to other things besides normal. You could do an unmask or something like that. But I wanted this to all sort of work in concert. And the tambourines, if you look at the drums up here, I actually type in tambourine where I want the tambourine hits to be. And as you see here, I could probably tighten this up just a little bit. There we go. That's even better. This was right because it's using different timing, but this tambourine hit was not. Let me turn that off. All right, let's go to our next section and build on this. And that takes us right to here, where we get into a violin section. And I was struggling with this at first, trying to figure out, how do I want violins to look? I have violins on the Matrix, and I've done violin plucks and things on the Mega Tree, and I really wanted to make the violins happen on the pixel pulls. And I wanted all of them doing this. I wanted to create a cohesive blend, even though it's a violin, it looks like a violin. So, you know, it is what it is. So we'll start this right here.
I need someplace simple where we could live, and something only you can give, and that's faith and trust and peace while we're alive. And the one
Peeps.
poor child who saved this world, and there's 10 million more who probably could, if we all just stopped and said a prayer for them.
So a little bit of symbolism there at the end with what might be a cross. You could change that if you hate crosses. You can put a Furby in there. Don't care, but it's what I put in there. And I'm only using 3 effects here. I'm using the lovely garlands to create the outlines and the pixel pulse. So if you have more than 6 or 7 or 8 wide, you may have to adjust the spacing to get the number of strings however you want. If I had a whole lot of strings, I might put more in there. The other part of this simply is the effects. I originally had started this using a shimmer, and you could still go with this, but when I watched it play back through this whole section, it really started to dominate, and I don't like to use so much shimmer that it starts to confuse the message and pulls people away from the rest of the show. This still has to be in harmony with everything else that's going on, and it was a little too intense, so I took that off on all of them, and suddenly it looks silky smooth.
That's faith and trust and peace while.
And lots of transitions in and out. You can see here I'm using 2 as unmask to get the bows to go up and down. Now, naturally, we know bows go across strings, not up and down. This is just a new future type of violin you've never seen. It'll probably never be built either. But I think it sort of just conveys the look and feel. All right, let's get to a next section here. The chorus. This time we've added the snare hits, drops. Nice little vamp section before we get into toward the ending, the power. So this represents, I don't know, to me, people trying to lift themselves and lift others and, you know, looking for hope. And I use colors yellow because it's such a symbolic color of hope for me, to me. Introduce just a little more color and then fade out with the fight, the hope. Anyway, yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with this. For these type of songs, it's absolutely critical to have fade ins and fade outs. You can see that these guys are going to fade out first. My meteors followed very quickly behind that, with the waves going to fade out, so it transitions into, mostly at the end, we just see this, which again represents characters in a world looking for hope. What I'm going to do with the rest, I'm not really sure. A couple things I could do. I could certainly put images reflecting first responders and really be, you know, blatantly obvious, or just keep to symbolisms, trying to tell a story. I'm not really sure about that, so I need to think and experiment with some video and images to see what it does. I'd like to keep this more of a universal thing and not just, you know, a United States thing. I don't want to make it just about 9/11 because I think it's bigger than that. I think there's so much going on in our lives right now, and we're all blessed to be here and experience the gift of holiday lighting and share each other's company. And so I look forward to sharing this with you when it's done. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk soon.